Hi there, Soul Shines. My name is Michelle, and today we are going to be doing a knitting tutorial. Some of you know that I've only been knitting for a year, almost a year, and so sometimes it feels a little funny to do a knitting tutorial. I'm a lot more knowledgeable about crocheting, but I was really excited to share this one with you because for me it was super beneficial. As many of you know, I like to make socks, and I found for me the easiest way to make socks is toe up socks. So I'm teaching you guys the Judy's Magic cast on. A lot of people have tutorials out there, and I've watched a few of them. When I watch tutorials on how to do a stitch I don't know how to do, I usually watch a few because I feel like different people present it slightly different. And I found most people had twisted stitches when they did Judy's Magic cast on, and I found one person who taught in a way that didn't have twisted stitches. But there was also a couple things that it took me a second to understand what she said. So I thought I would make my own tutorial in hopes that I can explain some of those missing pieces, and when you're watching your different videos, that maybe my tutorial will be of benefit to you. Just, like sometimes people say it differently. So what a Judy's Magic cast on is it's a way to cast on where you have live stitches on both sides. So normally when we cast on, it's kind of like there's this edge that's there, and then we just keep working up across the thing. But for Judy's Magic cast on, you actually cast on in a way where the cast on kind of creates this invisible cast on thing where you can't even see where you start other than some indicators. So I'm going to show you real quick. This is a sock that I made, and as you can see, there's no obvious, when you get over to the sides here, you can see the seam where I have increases, but the actual right here, you can't tell where the actual, it's really hard to get the right angle on this, but you can't really see there's no seam there to show where it works, and it just blends around so that the knitting just kind of magically seems to work both directions. And so that's what I'm going to be showing you how to do. It's when you start a toe up sock, gives you a way to just be working up the sides and creating your sock, and it's really exciting. So let's go over to the creation station, and I will show you how to do Judy's Magic cast on. Okay, so I have my yarn here, I have my tail, I have a needle here. I use the magic loop method. When I'm working on 9-inch circulars, I'll do my toes on the magic loop and then move them. It is possible to do 2 socks at a time with the Judy's Magic cast on. However, I find that I end up making too many mistakes and end up undoing something. And it's not necessarily on the cast on row, but usually somewhere in the socks, and I end up undoing them and stuff. So my current rule of thumb is make the entire toe, put it aside on either a smaller hook or needle or string or something to hold it, do the other toe, and then I start working on them 2 at a time. Just for the ease of I will make mistakes. But it is possible to do both of them. I'm not going to show you that. Some key things. There's a couple parts that feel awkward. I'm going to do my best to explain them. We're going to hold our needles parallel together like this so that, they're together. Our thread, it's kind of a long tail cast on, so we need a bit of a tail. And we're going to put it with the tail towards us, and we're going to do the whole little V thing where it's looped over. This is the tail end, looped over down into that little boomerang thing like a long tail cast on. We're going to work in 2s. Every time there is a stitch on the bottom needle, there will be also one on the top needle, and they will count as one, because you're working on kind of both sides of the sock. You know, a sock is like in a tube, and this is kind of creating a tube, only an attached tube. So you need to have the same number on both things. So like I said, the tail end is in front. We're going to slide it over in the middle. And then some important things is your thumb will be the string that comes from your thumb. That's the string for the top needle. And the string that's on your finger is the string for the bottom needle. So they're the opposites. So we have the top needle, we come up for the top needle, we come down for the bottom needle. Okay, so far we've got it here. I just kind of hold it with my thumb, and we've only got half of it. There's one loop on the needle. The other important thing is we always come from the bottom of our needle. That way we don't have any twisted needles. So we're going to come from the bottom in front over the top of, like as if this was going to come from the front over the top of that needle, and then we're going to come in between and over the top of the top needle. That'll make a little bit more sense when you see it, but we're always going to do that so we don't have twisted. So we've got one on the bottom, so we need one on the top. So we're going to come down and we're going to kind of twist around. We're going to come in the middle so we can go from the bottom over the top of that one. And we twist it down, and now we have two. Okay, we're going to kind of come towards the front, and we want it to go over the bottom needle. So we go over, down, between, so it goes over the needle. And now we're ready for the second half of that stitch. So we're going to come and we kind of bring it between the needles and over the top. So now it's come over the top of both. Down in front, over and in between. Go in between, over the top. Down and over the bottom. Up, in between, and over the top. So it's really important to remember it always is going from the bottom of the needle to the top. So for here, it's going to go from the bottom into the middle, and the second from the middle into the top, over the top. I hope I'm not making things more confusing. So we should have even number stitches. We count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we're ready for the next one. So we're going to come down. We're going to go in front and over the top. We're going to come in between so we can go over the top of the front. That was 6. That's 7. This is 8. Okay, so we should have 8 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nope, I counted wrong. One more. 8. Okay, and then I hold the tail attached to this, and I'm going to rotate it so that the needles are the other way. Now, at first, this felt backwards to me because I had been doing hats, and it felt like that when I did my hats, I would hold it this way and I would work on the needle that was closest to me. But we're actually going to pull out this one, and then we're going to stick it in up here, and we're going to just knit across the top. And like I said, it feels backwards. Once you've got the first one done, you can let go of the tail, but to me it's just effort to let go of the tail since I'm just holding it along with what I'm doing. And so I'm just going to go across, but the tail is down over here so it's not in the way. My stitches seem so awkward right now. Okay, so I've done my 8 stitches across, and I'm going to kind of pull that out so it's a little closer. And then I'm going to rotate again, and now I need to do the first row on the other half. Make sure you're not working with your tail going to come in and I'm going to go across here. And then we're going to kind of explain some things. So it feels kind of fun. It feels, at first, I can't even remember what it feels like anymore in a way, because I've gotten used to doing this, and once my brain understood the why of it, I was like, oh, okay, and then I've never thought about it since, except for thinking about how do I explain it to you. Okay, so right here, we've got the knit side, and we've got the purl side. The purl side and the knit side, right? If we turn it in the cast on method, I slide these in, and that's my next one I work on. And it feels like it's the one that it's away from you, but when you turn it over so that you're working on the outside of the tube, then it becomes right where it needs to be for the magic loop. So it feels backwards because you're working on the one that's away from you, when in magic loop you usually work on the one that's closer to you. But it's because this is the bottom of the tube and you're used to working on the tube as it comes up like this, and this is at the bottom. But when we started it, we started working on it from the bottom of it instead of from the top of it. I hope that makes sense. So this is where you would then go in, and I'm not going to do any increases, so I'm just going to kind of show you, but this is, you'd work across. This would be the row that you would start your increases on. I feel like I need to get another row. So right now it feels like I'm working on the one that's away from me. And I'm going to rotate it and pull my thing just like I'm doing a magic loop, and I'm going to go on this one. And I'm going to work across on this one. And again, it feels like I'm working on the one that's away from me. But as I'm going, if you notice, it's starting to get to where it's almost tilting around to become the one that's closest to me. I feel like this is going to be confusing. And I'm sorry for that, because I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm actually trying to explain it so it's not confusing. And I've done a couple rows now, and now it almost naturally turns to where I start to do it like it was the magic loop, and I'm working on the one that's closest to me. And it's because along the way, what used to be the top of my toe, this is the outside of my toe, but when you're working on the tube of the sock, the outside of your toe is facing down. But I started working on it with it facing up towards me. I hope that makes sense to you. But this is kind of how you do it. It isn't kind of how you do it. This is how you do the Judy's Magic cast on in a way that makes it so it's cast on nice and neat. It's very pretty. You can't even tell where it started when you look at the inside. This is really loose just based on the yarn with the needles. It's just finding demonstration yarn, so it wasn't like I'm doing my socks. And now I can just keep going with my thing. It's how you do the magic cast on. It just looks beautiful. And it's nice and easy. And as long as you remember to do the bottom needle and the top needle different from each other, so that you're coming from the bottom over the front to the top, over the top from the front. From the bottom over the top from the front on both needles. Bottom over the top and then bottom over the top. So it feels kind of weird because you're going under through the middle and then through the middle over the top, but it's bottom over the top, bottom over the top, coming towards you, bottom over the top, bottom over the top. And you always work in twos, and you remember that the string coming off your pointer finger goes to the bottom needle, string coming off your thumb goes to the top needle, and it should work out. And it may be that you need to take a little bit of practice, and that's okay. I hope that I wasn't too confusing with trying to explain why it works out with the magic loop. It was just one of those things for me that was kind of confusing, because I was like, why are we working on the one that's closest to us or away from us? Why are we working on the one that's away from us? When you do the magic loop, you're working on the one that's closest to you. And when I realized it was because I was working on the bottom of it, and when I turned it over, then I would be working on the proper needles for magic loop, that it made sense to me. So I wanted that to make sense to you. But I'm more worried that I confused you. Anyway, I hope that this was helpful and helps you understand how to do Judy's Magic Cast On. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, let your light shine through your creations, and I'll see you guys next time.